Hello, everyone. Weather forecaster Davis Wells here. I wanted to kind of dive into everything that happened yesterday in regards to the storms across much of northern Ohio, analyze it. And there's even a few things that I noticed that I think it'd be worthwhile to inform you all so you're aware for future storms moving forward. So a little bit of background, at 6:15 p.m., these storms started to rapidly intensify, moving along the Lake Erie lakeshore here in northwest Ohio. The original storm cell that caused most of the damage started just over the border in Michigan, near Monroe, Michigan. And as that moved along the lakeshore, it saw some rapid intensification due to there's a low pressure system that was overhead, and we were kind of in what they referred to as a warm sector, where there's enough ample moisture in between essentially a warm front and a cold front. And we also had that circulation from the low pressure system, which provided just a little bit of that lifting mechanism, as well as that shear that was needed to produce some of those serious storms yesterday. Timeline for yesterday, at about 2:08 p.m., I had noted that there was a chance for some stronger storms in the northern Ohio region. And then at 6:24 p.m., the National Weather Service in Cleveland issued a tornado warning for eastern portions of Lucas County until 7 p.m. What you're seeing just above me here is the map of Lucas County. That was the warning that was initially issued due to the concern that they were seeing on radar. At 6:28 p.m., I noted some pretty intense rotation, not from the Cleveland radar site, but actually using the Detroit Airport's radar. There was some very intense rotation noted at a very low level scan, meaning that there was likely probably something on the ground, if not going to be very shortly. I notified any of my followers on Twitter, just in case they knew anybody that lived within that area, just to be very, very cautious because of the imminent danger that it presented just on radar alone. And then at 6:40 p.m., the outdoor warning sirens were sounded. And a few things on that. If you're just looking at the timeline there, you've got a difference from the time when the tornado warning was issued versus when the sirens actually sounded. But I'll get a little bit more into that here shortly. In regards to the storm surveys, typically for when those teams go out from the National Weather Service, it takes them typically about a day. But if it's really if it's an event that has caused significant amount of damage across a large portion, sometimes it can take a couple days. But I would anticipate that we would hear something from them in regards to strength of possible tornadoes, the path that they took, as well as thunderstorm wind damage that may have occurred across portions of our area. In total, we had the map that you're seeing on the side there, those are all the counties in northern Ohio that experienced some sort of storm report. Now, it's worth noting that if you notice for tornado reports, there was zero. That is because nobody physically reported the tornado to the National Weather Service or a emergency dispatcher. So while there were videos of very evident tornadoes that were there, just because they were shared on social media does not indicate that it doesn't classify as a tornado report. It has to be provided directly to someone within the emergency field, whether it be a 911 dispatcher, the National Weather Service, even a news or media outlet that can then trickle up to the National Weather Service that can then receive that report. So storm surveys are required. So while the number is at zero, that's not going to be the case. There's going to be tornadoes that were found, especially with damage paths as well. Wind damage, there were 36 reports, mixture of lots of trees down, power lines down. There were gas leaks across the area. Even some buildings were significantly damaged, even partially collapsing, which is that's a very serious thing, especially for a storm. Hopefully the people that were in those areas were taking shelter and nobody was injured. I haven't heard of any injuries yet, thankfully, but that's still another reason why you want to make sure you are in a suitable and safe place when a storm is pushing into the area. And then in regards to hail reports, there were 21 of them. The largest hailstone that was actually measured was here in Lucas County. It was 2.5 inches large, which is equivalent to, I believe it's tennis ball size hail. That's pretty large, especially for areas here in northern Ohio. We don't see hail typically that large. We might get some 1/4 inch size hail. Um, I'm sorry, 1 inch diameter hail size of quarters. But when you start getting to those larger hail sizes, such as 2 inches or greater, that can really present a danger to life and property. It actually shattered quite a few windows, damaged cars across the area, which is unfortunate, but it's a very real threat that we do come across. This is kind of a overview of all the reports that came in by county for northern Ohio. And the areas or the boxes that are highlighted in purple actually had the highest value or the highest number for the given data that I had here. Lucas County had the highest number of reports. I'm not really shocked by that, given that Lucas County has a really large population. So that's not unheard of. Not really too surprised there. Largest wind report was 66 miles an hour that was measured. That is just wind. That was not a tornado. So that was just a measured wind report, not associated with a tornado. And then the largest hail report, as I mentioned, was 2.5 inches. That was here in Lucas County as well. But you can see there's several counties that had large hailstones, over 1.5 inch to even over 2 inches, which again can cause some very serious damage in regards to shattering windows, damaging cars, damaging siding, damaging roofs. It's really unfortunate. And then areas that the wind reports, if they say NA or even the hail reports, there wasn't ample information to actually provide a measurable size or speed for that matter. So I left that data out. So just kind of looking at the initial data here, what stood out to me is the outdoor warning sirens didn't sound until 6:40 p.m. for Lucas County. That was 16 minutes after the tornado warning was issued. Now, who's responsible for sounding the sirens? Well, it's the Lucas County Emergency Manager or the County Emergency Manager. They have the discretion of sounding those sirens whenever. So it could be during a tornado warning, could be during a severe thunderstorm warning. So I guess all that to say, it's something you should not rely on. Okay. It's a very outdated technology that we still have, unfortunately. And people can't hear them. They're sounded when there's nothing happening. They're sounded too late and things have already happened, which they're outdoor warning sirens. They're intended to notify people that are outside if you were hear them. Now, they were very loud across Lucas County, don't get me wrong. But nonetheless, it's outdated and not reliable. So it's important to have two forms of communication to receive a warning. Storm damage had already occurred in Point Place prior to the tornado warning even being issued. So, it takes time, unfortunately, with our distance where we're at between radar sites. Cleveland's pretty far away, and when they're looking at data, it's sampled up at a higher level in the atmosphere. So they can't really get a good picture as to what specifically is going on, maybe down at the surface. And that's no fault to them. That's just the location of the radar site, which is unfortunately Toledo, Wood County, and even Hancock County it's right on the line there, and it's very difficult to see very accurate data that's occurring at the ground level just because of the distance there. But nonetheless, if there's storms moving into your area, just head indoors, take shelter, just wait till it passes. There's no reason to, I know it's a very Midwestern thing to, you hear the storms and you go outside and you want to see what's going on. And I get it. It's fascinating. I think it's amazing. But at the same time too, you're potentially putting yourself in harm's way. So you have to be very, very careful with that. And your best just to head inside, be away from windows, and you should be safe. Um, Last thing I wanted to note here is the tornado warning that was issued for Lucas County. Um, Given the area that it was issued for, there were just over 3,000 people within the warning. However, all of Lucas County, all those sirens were initiated. So, what does that mean? Well, there were about, give or take, 426,000 people that were notified by siren that there was a tornado warning for their area, which is it wasn't true. It was just for the immediate lakeshore, and unfortunately, that induces panic, and then it causes issues where people don't believe when they hear the sirens ever, or if they're under a tornado warning they assume, oh well, nothing ever happens, and that's a terrible thing for it to happen. And if they're going to sound the sirens, they need to sound them immediately. There can't be that delay. That's unfortunately what costs people's lives, and thankfully, like I said, I haven't heard any reports of anybody losing their life. But that can add to it, and unfortunately it adds to that siren mentality where people just, you have to listen to it, or um, that's the only indicator. So it's something people really have to take seriously. But nonetheless, I hope you all were able to learn a little something. This is just based off of initial data. Like I said, the storm survey teams from the National Weather Service are still conducting those surveys, so we'll get official information out probably today or even maybe tomorrow. When I get that information, I'll be sure to post that over on my Twitter page, which is at Davis Wells WX. I just want to take a moment too to thank everybody that was following along on my Twitter page yesterday. I was able to get some very important information out pretty quickly. I think I want to say I had over like 150,000 people interact with my posts, watching videos, retweeting, commenting, liking. That's all super important, and it's not even for me making a name for myself or anything like that. It's more or less I want more people to be aware of what's going on, so they're not in harm's way. So thank you all for that. We're able to contribute towards that. My phone was blowing up, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is crazy." I got like 300 notifications in an hour, which is just, it was crazy. So thank you all for your support. And yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you all are staying safe, and I will see you in the future.